All right, this is part three of the video series, and so on. Part two definitely went more in depth with it. Part three, just to a little bit continue it, that honoring your story has to do with the fact being that, at least from what I've studied with the major leagues of like the NFL and so on, my cousin has echoed the same sentiment with the NBA because that's his predominant sport and so on. He's echoed the same sentiment that to the league you ain't nothing but a number. They don't care about you or your family, your background, your community. They can care less. They don't deal in truth and transparency. They deal in lies and folly and ego and pride and holier than thou, self righteous. I think one of the top things he referred to back was the Isaiah Thomas story when Isaiah Thomas supposedly I think his sister or whoever in his family had died whatever day back 3-4 years ago or so. She had died the day before they had a game. I think it might be a playoff game if I'm not mistaken, but the day before they had a game, and he could have, like most would have, and no one could have blamed him for it. Calling out, saying that personal time to cope and grieve and deal with that loss and so on. But no, instead he toughed it out, and he still went out there and played and performed. But that did not stop the league from still trading him around like 3-4 times within the next year or so. Uh, and that is ugly. That is disgusting. That is grotesque. That is pitiful, and that is pathetic, and so on. Specifically for me, in the case of studying the NFL over the years, the reason why I've been hugely critical of the NFL, and if you don't know how critical I've been, just look at my NJ to the city Twitter. I've tweeted out several times within the last however many years of how critical I've been of the NFL. The NFL has just proven itself the way they handled Tebow, mismanaged him, the way they mismanaged Colin Kaepernick, Johnny Manziel, and quite a few other stars that I can name. They've proven that they don't care about talent. They don't care about comeback stories. They don't care about so many things that make must see, must watch TV. If Johnny was back in the league, Colin was back in the league, that's must see, must watch TV. Building a whole team full of misfits or just people who got ousted out of the league for whatever reason is literally must watch, must see TV. Especially if they're out there balling on the field, that makes for must watch, must see TV. And so on. Like I'm telling you, like I mean it when I say the NFL in my particular instance, I believe the NFL has been given some of the most marketable stories. They've been handed on a silver platter some of the most marketable stories that you can find via definitely through the draft. They've been handed some of the most marketable stories, and let alone free agency with those three faces that I just named, of Tebow, Manziel, and Kaepernick. They've been handed some of the most marketable, comeback stories ever. But for some stupid, dumb, bleeping reason, the NFL wants no part of employing these guys. But they'll employ a ton of other guys. And I'll never forget when Kaepernick was first being ousted, let alone first started kneeling. I thought it was like, wait a minute. So you'll employ a woman beater before you employ a guy that just kneel for the flag. A guy that just kneel for the anthem. You know what I mean? Something about that makes no logical, moralic sense. That makes no sense. You don't have to agree with Cap's politics, even though some of his politics are based in grassroots reality of what's happening in plethora of gun violence meccas in society and a whole ton of social justice issues that I can name and so on. Some of his politics were absolutely based in truth, logic, and reality, and so on. And it's like, wait a minute. At least if you were to ask me, it's just like, wait a minute. You'll employ a guy that you'll employ a guy you will employ open women beaters. You employ women beaters before you employ a guy that kneel for the flag. And no offense, but then it's in the same sentiment. But then all these other people want to come out and they want to burn the Browns for for trading for Deshaun with all these allegations and lawsuits against him and so on. I'm sorry, but ladies and gentlemen, the NFL has proven that it's corrupt before. NFL has proven it has a janky moral compass before. NFL has proven they don't know who to employ before. They don't know who to draft. They've proven this over and over and over and over again. That they will employ women beaters before they employ, like I just said, a guy that kneeled for the flag. Or they'll employ this woman beater, but they won't employ this dude that just got caught up in some mess with some massage therapist and so on. Not a beater, but obviously someone just got caught up in some mess with someone's massage therapist. But the point there is, ladies and gentlemen, the NFL has proven that they will do this. They don't have a moral compass. If not, their moral compass is completely janky, and they will employ whomever. It'd be different if you stood on a I think Bill Parcells or whatever old coach it was that definitely employed as many character issue guys as he possibly could find, as long as they could play, and as long as they could help the team, win games, win Super Bowls, etc. He'll employ anybody, and so on. And it'd be different if that's the type of moral compass you were standing on, where it truly was just, can this guy help us win? It's not to say we would agree with you signing him on the moralic, standpoint of character and integrity. We obviously wouldn't agree on that. But if you just made it purely off of, can this guy help us play? And then we saw, minus the character issues, he went out there and balled and won you Super Bowls, then, okay, you take your lumps where you take them. But if you are being negatively selective, like the NFL pretty much is, when it comes to these situations of who they're employing with these character issues, it's like, wait a minute. How did we get here? How is this dude's story, any less than this dude's story, any less or any more than it, and so on. And I'm being as dumb real as I can explain it to you, is that, at least the way I look at it, very proudly, very humbly in this sense, is that, if they, and dare I say, to kind of tone it down a little bit from what I was just explaining, to see that the NFL, they have a janky moral compass and they don't know what they're doing, and to see that because Tim Tebow is one of the most marketable people on the face of the planet. He's the most famous Christian athlete on the face of the planet. How do you not employ the most famous Christian athlete on the face of the planet? How? Tebow has one of the most marketable stories on the face of the planet. He's the most famous Christian athlete on the face of the planet. And you keep talking about how you want high character guys. The most famous high character guy on the face of the planet, you will not employ. Etc. And again, it's just mind-boggling to me how the NFL gets, not really how they get away with it, how they justify this lunacy. That's why I cannot stand the NFL, and that's why I borderline hate the NFL. And then go back to the youngsters part of this story, they won't honor these kids' stories. They won't honor them. McKenzie Milton, they won't honor his story. McKenzie Milton, Malik Willis, and Corral. The fact that those two slipped to the third round of the draft when they both have first round hype, it's baffling. And then the fact that Atlanta picked Ritter over Willis when Willis is directly from your city is baffling to me. When I tell you that the NFL has pretty much been given the most marketable stories from free agency to the draft, and they just sit on these stories. If they bring these guys into their building, they just sit on the stories, or they just pretend like they don't even exist by McKenzie Milton standpoint. No draft, no camp invite, etc. Something about that it screams to me. This is what's wrong with society. This is what's wrong with these companies, with these organizations, you name it, whatever buzzword you want to use. And it's like saying, if the NFL will not do their job, let alone just do that job in general when it comes to marketing these kids' stories, I feel called as a community leader to work on a local level to do it for them. Because I'm sick of this. These kids are super honorable, remarkable, talented, gifted, special, athletic. Let's do it on the local level, since they won't do it on a national level. God bless you, boy, man.